Gathered friends, listen again to our legend of the Round Boys. They're coming. Hide your children and your beans and whatever else you hold dear to yourself.
It's okay, I've already disposed of the beans. They are safe in the garbage.
I personally hold bagged milk true to my heart.
Okay.
Swert, what's something ridiculous you have? Crap, we weren't going to introduce you.
Swert, what are you talking about? That's Greg Firsty.
Well, they
Hello,
are both
everybody.
they are both the books, so I guess you are Greg now, Swert.
Josie wasn't here when we had that discussion.
Clearly not.
I was busy wrestling with beans.
Surprisingly, your nonsense isn't entirely incorrect this time.
Yeah, I could have just said what I was actually doing, but I decided to word it in the most ridiculous way possible because that's just my brand.
Yeah.
Guys,
Moving on.
This isn't Bionicle.
You're not Bionicle!
Don't you mean what's the latest one I did? Insane Clown Posse?
Well, you know what is Bionicle? Books.
Yeah.
And we've been reading a book. Book 2, in fact, of Biological Chronicle, as compiled by TuragaNuva on the BZ Power message
The
boards.
second book ever written. Yep.
I'll never get over how you pronounce it BZ Power.
I'll keep doing that forever, just to spite you now.
Fun fact, it's not the first time I've heard it called BZ Power, actually.
I'm Canadian and I cringe at that.
It's
My very Canadian friend Spirit, you may remember his name from the annuals of old school PSAs. He also called it BZ Power in one of the PSAs.
I didn't know he's Canadian. Goddamn, I gotta go back and watch Man Tax Facts.
I was just thinking of Spirit because someone tweeted his Bionicle recap video and I replied, "Oh, memories."
I remember him only because I literally talked to him yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got him locked up in the. I shouldn't say it that way.
You got him tied to your radiator now, do you?
But no, he's just basically been hanging out in the BS01 staff chat thing we've got, and that's where I keep him.
I had an awkward conversation with Spirit once on newbie by Z Power. I asked, "Hey, I have a Sprite comic. Can I use you?" That's what we did in the old days. We asked people if they wanted, and
I still have a Sprite sheet.
And he said, "Sure thing." And he sent me a Sprite sheet. And I said, "Oh shit! I wasn't expecting you to link it to me. I was having trouble finding it. Thank you." And then he was all like, "Yes, I made it." I don't think he realized what I was actually saying, and assumed that I didn't know he made it. So I never talked to him again because that's how I deal with awkwardness. I just push it away from my life forever.
Well, you know how I deal with awkwardness. Our trademark phrase, moving on.
Moving swiftly on.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
moving right along.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Spirit and Biosector01, that is a thing that you do, Swert, is it not?
It is.
It is the best Bionicle wiki.
Yep.
The only Bionicle wiki that's worth a damn.
I'm
place.
gonna put an asterisk on that. The only English-speaking Bionicle wiki worth a damn. I do have partners in France, Mexico, Spanish language, and I also have friends over in Germany.
Yep, they're cool.
Yeah. They're Chronist, Nuvapedia, and they just call it the Bionicle Wiki for the wiki version of the Spanish version, but I partner with them because I have friends who speak Spanish natively, and they said, yeah, they check out.
Well, they're cool because your wiki does not have words other than English, so they're not crimping on your style.
Precisely. What are you talking about? There's plenty of Matoran words in there.
I did words wrong and accidentally a joke.
That reminds me, unfortunately, we found out that the other day that some of the names in Legend of Madanui actually aren't even Maori. Some of the names, like Vituka, for instance, literally translates to rock in Fijian.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many...
So they just pulled from a bunch of Polynesian languages. It wasn't just the Maori.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Maori is just the one that they took the best words from.
No, they were just the ones that they pissed off.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Mary is the one that went after BZ Power. That's it.
Well, they took the names of...
BZ Power didn't exist then.
Yeah, it did. They went after... Well, technically you're right. No, they went after BZ
Power.
Was it
Bionicle Zone and Kanoe Power.
Yeah, Bionicle Zone and Kanoe Power merged in like late 2001.
I'm aware. I've been a member since 2003. January of 2003. I'm old.
Speaking of late 2001, that's where the story picks up.
Moving on.
So we open up the book and we immediately go to that moment when you wake up and turn off your alarm and then go back to sleep again, because that's what the Borok do.
Yep.
This is no. You got to do your best true facts impression. This is how the Borok do.
He started making videos again, and I'm so happy.
Yeah, he did. Go watch the Frank. He's cool.
He's a good boy. He
does the best Morgan Freeman impression, unlike me.
He was Craig Ferguson's co-host for a while. Until Craig Ferguson retired.
Huh.
Right.
Well, technically...
Was he the one that was voicing Jeff?
Yep, he was the one who was voicing the robot skeleton, yes. Okay, so Liam, Craig Ferguson's co-host was actually a robot skeleton made by Greg Imahara from Mythbusters.
Imahara, yeah.
Oh crap, what did I say?
Greg.
Everyone is Greg!
I can almost imagine photoshopping Craig's head on Grant Imahara now. That'll be your thumbnail.
I did say Greg.
I was just gonna say.
Okay, so
so the book starts with a prologue about a Borok waking up before it's time and then going back to sleep. Yep.
That basically doesn't matter. But then they do wake up for real, and the Torah are like, what?
That brings up an interesting point. At what point in the continuity does that first prologue take place? Is that just like 10 minutes early, or is that like before the Toa even arrive?
I want to say it's when Takua goes down underground.
That's when they actually wake up.
But they explode out of the pods. I remember that scene quite well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
The only thing I can come up with is, was it during, like, say, the 1,000 years where it just kind of woke up and, like, as a security measure, be like, is it time yet? Nope, going back to sleep.
I think it's the
only way that would work.
That also brings up another interesting point in that during the time where Madanui was still awake, archivists dug out Borok quite often, and they didn't move at all in the entire time that they were archived.
They were asleep.
So why now would they just wake up briefly and then go back to sleep?
Okay, so
they needed to go pee.
They were so silent that over the course of 10,000 years, the Matoran just thought they were completely inert.
This is like right after the Toa have defeated Makuta, though, isn't it?
Is it?
They're talking about like...
Yeah,
it's they're talking about the victory
guys,
party gets interrupted.
Guys, did you not actually read the book? It says Makuta purposely woke them up at this time.
Well,
yes, but we're talking about the prologue.
Oh,
yeah.
The prologue,
very specifically that one single Borok that's like, I'm awake. Nah, never mind. Snooze
that
button.
seems to just be a fluke. I've been trying to say, there's an episode of Doctor Who where there's a museum that has a Dalek on display that seems to be completely dead, but then it just randomly wakes up for no reason. I think sometimes flukes just happen.
I just find it interesting to think that this could happen, just completely at random, one time only over the course of 10,000 years.
Well, maybe it happened more often and we just don't see them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the archives have security cameras.
The thing that's the most narratively interesting about this prologue is it has absolute... It's important narratively to start with an insight into the mind of a Borok, but there is absolutely no relevance. Like, it can fit anywhere, literally anywhere. Like,
it's also worth noting that Hapka's books are only semi-canon.
Right, Liam?
Yeah.
Liam?
So I need to say this one thing. Back to the subject of why did none of the Matoran ever run into Borok before? Don't forget, they had a lot of Earth to dig into before they'd hit the face of Matanui.
Spoilers. You mean the mysterious protodermis layer?
I meant to say the bottom of Matanui, which is the Earth core.
There's a guy here who doesn't know about how it ends, and that's the point of the podcast.
I meant to say at the bottom of Matanui, which is the island, of course.
Yeah,
that's
we're reading it alongside a guy who doesn't know what the thing is.
So the Toa, they're partying hard, and then the earthquake, it interrupts them, and it's like, what the frick?
Smoking that dank energized protodermis.
But what's that over the hill?
It's a Matoran saying, "Oh, the people are dead. Come help."
Apparently
Kapura.
that was Kapura, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I recognize that from the comic. Because he had a Pakari, which they then changed to being a Ruru later on for reasons.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was weird.
That brings up an interesting point, actually, because the CG render of Kapura, right from the start, had a Ruru. So was this comic penned?
So here's my question. Kapura in the original game, and I'm asking you, Liam, was that a Pakari or a Ruru?
He had a Pakari in the alpha of Legend of Mana Nui, and it was changed to a Ruru in the beta. Okay.
So this comic may have been drawn at a time when it was still a Pakari.
Well, that's what I was just about to ask. Is it possible that that comic was penned so early on that change hadn't taken place yet? If that is the case, it would have had to have been penned sometime between July and October of 2001, which is really early for something covering the start of the Balrog.
Not as early as you might think. I don't imagine. But, because keep in mind, how long does it take to publish? First of all, factor it this way. The comic had to be written during the year of 2001, and when was the beta released?
October of 2001.
They had to get all this stuff out to a printer and ready to go by about, what, December?
Around that time, probably. Interesting to think of it that way. Moving on. We haven't even gotten past the first 10 pages yet, and we're already
just on the one Matoran.
Quickly, an army of pillbugs is destroying the world!
Yes. The Toa rush off to Tawahi, where they find a bunch of Borok. They got Parak and Korak. I forget which one.
Yeah, Korak.
And yes, and they fight him. And the Turaga there, the Vakama, I do believe, it would make sense. He's there and he says, "These are the Borok. I know exactly what they are and stuff. You got to get the Krana. I'm not going to tell you why, but you got to get them.
Here, see this squishy thing? Get 8 of them and come back to me."
Harvest the
Carry 10
bodies
slugs in your pocket.
Harvest the bodies and steal their brains.
It specifies that they are warm and squishy.
Literally, the other way they could have said it'd be like just having Vakama looking straight at the reader, breaking the fourth wall, saying, "Hey kids, ask your parents to buy this."
Yeah,
this is the original loot box, man.
Oh god, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It should be noted that, unlike the Toa, the Borok would always have a randomized Chrono when you bought them.
That's true.
Yes. In fact, I have about 3 or 4 different Borok copies that have completely different Chrono each.
I remember when I bought a Tannock, when I bought my Tannock, I specifically wanted to have the Chronoza with it. So I was like going through the shelf, shaking hands to get the Krana to fall to the bottom so I could see it through and see, oh, hey, there's Swarm Commander.
Right.
The original bag feel guide.
I was about to say, if only they were polybags, it would be actually harder if you think about it.
So the Toa, they find these Borok. These Borok, they're swarms of big bugs. Big bugs that go pew pew and destroy everything.
Yep.
But
very
they don't seem that
description.
With the elemental power of acid.
One of them does.
So all of them
except
except the green ones.
So many people with that one.
So all of them except the green ones, they mirror the elemental powers of their respective Toa. But the green ones, they don't have air powers, they have acid powers for some reason. I guess
and
it's more
then
destructive than
Leva
air.
has anti-air.
Yeah.
You can vacuum.
Because there's only so much you can do with air.
Like Chip was saying, air is not a very destructive power.
I mean, it could be if they whip
although
up
apparently,
have you visited Jupiter, Josie?
So actually, apparently, early life forms that evolved on Earth actually primarily breathe nitrogen, And oxygen is actually the toxic one of our atmosphere.
I mean, pure oxygen is toxic.
Yeah,
to
I
even
didn't
humans.
know that until like a few months ago.
I mean, if you breathe any pure singular element, it's going to be toxic. Let's be real here.
Right. Concentrated levels of oxygen are not bad, but they're also not good for you in some cases.
Oh yes, they are bad. They are bad. They're poisonous.
What about pure rock?
Good luck drinking that.
Moving on.
So
burn it all, it must be burned. Acid it all, it must be acided.
Oh shit, I forgot a few minutes ago when I was talking about Daleks for some reason. The Borok are basically Daleks, right?
Yes, they are absolutely.
Yeah.
They are absolutely Dalek, except
they're not really. The Daleks want to exterminate all life. The Borok are just like a swarm of...
They're
just like a swarm of big titty maids.
They just want to destroy the whole world for no reason that we know of.
They're the anti-Daleks. They want to destroy everything that isn't alive.
Clean it all, it must be cleaned. Clean it all. Clean.
And they are little bug-like, brain-like things that live inside of a mechanical thing. So, yeah, they are a Dalek.
There's probably some inspiration going on there.
I'm not going to say an inspiration, certainly an influence. Let's say it that way.
So yeah, the Toa go off. There's separate ways to go and get those squishy boys, and we don't see a lot of them. A lot of the collection of the Krana. It's pretty truncated, especially compared to the mask quest of the previous book.
We've collected everything. Congratulations, we have it all in one shot.
They really don't want to be too repetitive.
Literally, the whole rest of the book at that point, up until the ending, is just random little tidbits of when they go and...
Sorry.
Just random little tidbits of, like,
it's going off.
Shit.
I'm just glad my phone doesn't work right now. I'm getting a new one.
In the second half of the book, when they have to find even more MacGuffins, we literally don't even see them track down the MacGuffins. They just say, and we found some of them MacGuffins.
I also want to bring up this thing. In the book, and I have it open right now because, again, I didn't read it, but I am skimming it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is the first year they introduced us to the idea of a wall of history. And I wanted to bring that up very specifically because I kind of wanted everybody's take on, because I was there for the Wall of History. I remember this year beautifully. But what is your take on the whole idea?
It's better than TuragaNuva's blog.
They don't know how to make paper, and they don't have electronics, so where else are they going to put all of their words?
Not what I meant. I meant to. I guess I'm asking, what did everybody think about the idea of this mode of storytelling where they have an in-universe, like, news article being posted by the chronicler?
I interpreted it as a newspaper, and I liked it,
That is a good thing. I like it. Takua, he's a good boy, and he writes stuff, and he's actually chronicling now, which is something he didn't do last time, even though everyone called him the chronicler.
And I'm sure he's going to be doing it a lot longer.
Oh, boy.
Yep, he's going to be doing it forever and ever. They even say in the book.
So how about that Matoro? Won't he make a great Turaga someday?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
are you saying Nuju's grooming him to be Turaga? How does that work?
Don't you mean Turago? Because that's how the naming convention works, isn't it?
Moving on.
Pohatu kicks over some statues. Some Borok go underground and flood the caves. Lewa goes to his village and dies. Again, yeah.
By the way, that's another thing I want to bring up real fast. I'm in the camp of Lewa. Thank you.
Eat my ass.
And then Onawa has to save him. Again!
Onawa doesn't save him for another, 5 chapters.
I was about to say, we haven't even seen what happened to him yet, did we?
No, we just know he went there.
We know that we said he died, so...
Well, yeah. I mean,
it feels like we're jumping around this book now, aren't we?
Onawa's gonna go to hell and rescue his Lewa from the devil. That's like Doctor Doom's plot from Marvel.
Okay, Wall of History 2. New invention saves Onukoro. So this is where we get introduced to the Boxors.
Boxor bot.
Quick aside, they are Boxors, not multiple Boxor. I think that's the first time we've had a Bionicle word be pluralized with an S.
Yeah. I don't remember if it's a cultural thing, like an aspect of Danish language, or if it's just about a trademark dispute thing. But Lego really does not like plurals in their
Part of that
trademark.
is, it is a trademark thing that they do not call themselves Legos. Period. Stop.
That's true.
Yep.
Which, by the way, I am also in that camp. Lego is the word. Moving on.
I only refer to them as Bionicles as a joke. I understand the words.
I cringe, but I let it go because I know I can't change everybody's mind.
Hi, Joshy. We love you. No, we don't.
Yeah. Fuck that guy. I would have blocked him before if it wasn't for branding.
So Nuparu, he takes apart some fallen Borok and reconstructs them into these little mechas. Which
And
is
now, can I get a moment of silence for all the Borok that had to be taken apart meticulously and dangerously to make something?
It's okay. They're just robots.
They're just robots.
They have no souls.
It's just like Eva. There's no sentience in them.
No, it's all in the Krana. The Borok are nothing. They're just shells. I swear.
Can I just say how much I love 2002 in hindsight?
Oh yes, the entire Bionicle, the entire Borok mythology, the entire mythos in Bionicle is just great. But the Borok specifically, I love that.
Yeah,
there's like
we'll find out later.
And Nuparu
we'll get to why that's interesting
and
later.
Nuparu doesn't even have an existential crisis about it.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Pay no attention to the dead bodies.
Dead robots.
Dead robots.
Fine. So Gali, she makes some of them fall into a swamp to get some Krana. Wall of History 3, Tarnox around Pokoro, Matoran lost in fray. So yeah, this is the part where Hafu, he stands up to them and he's like, I'm the boy. You can't get past me. And then there's a cliffhanger.
Have we even mentioned, for the viewers who would listen to this podcast without being familiar with Bionicle, the reason the Borok can be defeated so easily is they don't pay attention to life at all unless it gets in their way.
Yeah, they only seem intent on destroying stuff.
Yep.
That's pretty much how it always worked.
The Borok are basically robots controlled by their tiny squish brains that are more like insects that don't think very good.
I have another name for them. The Borok are the Borg. You are not a threat, they will ignore you.
We are the Borok.
Yeah, basically.
Once the Toa became a threat, they had to be dealt with accordingly.
And
they were accordingly taken over in multiple ways. For example, poor Liwa got in the way. What happened to him?
He died. We don't know.
He had a bad experience with deliriant drugs.
Guys, so if the Borok are the Borg, what's a good way to mispronounce cleaned?
Cleaned.
We are the Borok. Resistance is cleansed. I'd fuck that up.
Skipping over another Wall of History because it's basically just Vakama telling us about the Borok again.
This was a slow news day.
Yeah. Then Tupac, he is trailing a Borok Var. He sees it go behind a boulder, and instead of using his mask of X-ray vision to see what's going on, he decides to get real close and then get surprised by a bunch of Borok.
Oh, he has like six. He has like 6 masks. We can't expect him to remember all of them.
This was his original mask, though.
I know! That makes it funnier!
Can we just stop and think about the fact that the Akaku has been the most useless mask in all of Bionicle history?
I think it gets used less than the
water breathing.
I think the Akaku gets used less than the Mask of Water Breathing because at least Callie has use for it.
Right?
Kinda.
She doesn't have to exert additional energy to use her element to breathe underwater.
Meanwhile, what does the X-ray vision thing allow you to do? Oh, look, I could start wall hacking, or I could just be honorable.
Like the Toa use levitation almost as a passive ability for when they're falling for shit. Like, oh no, we're falling. Oh wait, we have this mask. We can float. Yay! It's very interesting because I used to think that Mask of Levitation was the least useful because the one that had it was the Air Toa and he can already fly. But then again, with the water breathing, and they go over to water.
Yep.
And the Akaku is like the only mask that I know of that has. There's science. Like most of the other masks are like magic, but the Akaku has microscopes on it, so it can already see through stuff. But also, magic makes it see through stuff better.
So now the Toa are waging war on the Borok, and Tahu gets real political for a moment. I'm just going to post something in the chat.
Yeah.
I just want you to take a real close look
I was wondering
at what
if you were going
Tahu
to bring
says.
this up.
Yep, Tahu
I
says...
knew you were going to bring this up.
And together you can build a wall and make the Makuta pay for it.
And there it is.
Wall.
Yep, I've been
I didn't
seeing
want to make Matanui great again.
I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter comparing a certain Turaga that we'll meet later. I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter comparing a certain Turaga to Pterodax. Shit! Forget I said anything!
Wow!
I keep fucking it up. I keep fucking everything up. I am a bad cat.
We've only got 6 Turaga.
I am a bad cat with bad mouth. Pay no attention.
Next you're going to tell me there's more than 6 Toa. What are you talking about?
Yeah, next you're going to tell me there's 17 elements and only 5 of them are girl. 18.
Actually,
18
only
elements.
4 of them are girl, I think. Wait, what?
No, I have a chart.
Of course you do.
Next thing you're going to tell me there's a 7th Toa.
Next you're going to tell me that Xenoblade...
What?
Next thing you're going to tell me is Kingdom Hearts somehow makes more sense than this.
Makuta and Xehanort are the same guy. Change my mind.
So, yeah, there's a few points in this book where Tahu becomes, let's say, politically interesting. Such as one part later where, I'm just going to skip ahead. And basically, he says about the Borok, we don't need to understand them, just stop them. Which
Don't forget the crowd that's in front of Tahu saying, "We are with you, Toa Fire."
Oh boy.
It pains me. It really does pain me to say this about what is retroactively a Trump allegory, but to be fair, they don't understand the Borok for, like, years after this. So, like,
That is true.
Actually,
That is a good point.
In canon, the entire story takes place over the course of exactly 1 year.
holy fuck! That's one
What, the
hell of
whole
a
Borok
birthday!
saga? Oh no, you're right. The whole of like the first 3 years are in 1 year.
No, the whole of G1 is only about a year.
Yeah,
That-
excluding flashbacks.
That's true. You're right.
Onua finds Leiwa's mask, and then he goes to Leiwa,
Yep.
and he says, "Hey, what's up, man? Why you got a squishy boy on your face?"
Yeah, apparently apparently his mask is being like played with by Levok Va, apparently.
Yeah, something
This
like
is
that.
the only time this is the only time I've noticed them in the book doing anything other than scouting and delivering stuff.
Yeah, the Va are a very interesting little creature. I've always like they're almost forgettable, but at the same time,
they're meant to be.
think about how critical they are to the storyline,
They're like
especially.
Roombas.
Yep.
Yeah,
So what they do
well-
is that they function as delivery boys, delivering Krana to the Borok when they get their brain takeout. And
Question: Are the Borok Va controlled by Krana themselves, or
No.
do they just carry them?
they seem
They
to be
They are
they seem to be
independent
automated.
of the Krana altogether.
Although apparently they do have them, like individual Krana
So-
specifically for them.
I have to explain what that is. The 2 different colors per Borok species, say the blue for the Tannock and the yellow for the inactive Tannock, otherwise known as the Tannock Va.
Oh,
Basically,
fucker.
when it's inactive and in a Va, it turns color to be a dormant color. But when
Okay.
it's put in a Tannock, it turns back to its normal color.
I didn't know
holy
that.
Holy shit!
Interesting.
I did know that, but I forgot it because I'm dumb and I forget things.
That's quite a weird color change, though. Fucking
really is.
But-
Gallox Krana goes from dark purple to bright orange.
It's mentioned in the book, and I just got that. It's mentioned in the book that they seem to pulse different colors, and the color that they pulse is the color of the vase.
In all honesty,
the biggest issue is that this is never reflected when the Krana are removed. Even in comic CG media, they all remain the same color as the normal Borok.
As we see later, apparently the Krana can move independently.
Oh God! Ooh, yeah, that's
we see near the end of the book that Krana can apparently move like bugs.
Yeah.
The Toa take them out of their houses, and before they can collect them, they scurry off into the darkness.
I have to ask the question. I'm going to be jumping quite a bit ahead real fast because I want to ask this question now.
You can't really jump much farther than the end of the book like I just did.
Sure enough. Do you think they ever take people, or Matoran, and dump them down that well where the Krana are? Just if they're, like, that dangerous or that bad? Like,
I would imagine...
the Comet Ball Trader. Could you imagine them dumping him down there?
They dismantle them and use them for spare parts.
Oh, wow.
Mention that.
Yeah.
No, they never do something like that.
Foreshadowing.
Though I don't think we'll ever see him again.
Yeah, we'll never see Akimo again.
Akira
Moving
Toriyama.
on.
We're just going to call him Akira Toriyama from now on.
Yep, the creator
So
of Dragon Ball.
Onua saves Leiwa from his affliction.
Hey, look,
Yeah.
we're already 45 minutes in and we're not even halfway through.
Not even halfway through with just the
That's
Borok.
another thing.
Let alone the
I
car.
wonder why the Krana on Liwa's face was still red when it could have been inactive.
Okay,
So,
maybe
okay.
maybe the Krana is still active.
I think
just not in the Borok.
Okay, so I think the Krana selectively turn themselves off. They either turn themselves off, or they're entered a dormant mode to save power in the Borok. I think they're still powered.
Yeah.
I think they do like photosynthesis or whatever. Yeah. And obviously the Borok on Liwa's face, the Krana on Liwa's face was active because it was controlling him.
Nah. Why
Oh,
were they
God.
in the cave for 10,000
What if they
years then?
shoved the Borok on his face?
Well,
I gotta build that now.
so someone sent me on Twitter as a guy with a Borok on his head. I guess that.
Close enough. I want to point out the comic page where Lee was ripping the Krana off his face. That's like the first time I've ever seen a Toa's head in anything. Because I didn't buy the sets in 2001, so I didn't know what a Toa's head looked like.
I don't think that particular page was included in the book.
Yeah,
No,
it was.
I'm looking right at it.
Seeing it in the book.
Oh, okay.
Yep, right after
I
page
forgot
180. So it's on page 181, I think.
Oh yeah, so it is. Okay.
That is by
so-
far the most metal comic panel in all of 2000. Just ripping a parasite off your face.
I like Bionicles. They're very good.
Facehuggers ain't got nothing on these.
Yeah.
Also, then you look at literally 2 panels later, then the Levi start attacking and they've got orange Krana in their head. What?
I assume the coloring artist, whoever did the coloring, couldn't distinguish between red and orange.
There's a lot of errors. In case you haven't noticed in one of the ending panels, Liwa is brown.
Yeah.
I did not notice that.
No, you're right. There have been a lot of errors.
There are issues.
Yep, the Bakari Ruru situation isn't the only thing that they've gotten wrong in the times.
Yep. Speaking of inconsistencies, or rather just sort of interesting points regarding island life, we get onto Wall of History 6, Island Wildlife on the Move, where we get an insight into some of the friendly Arahi and how they do. And specifically, this mentions Matoran fishermen in Garkoro, so I gotta wonder, why do they fish?
I assume they do have to... I always assume they do have to feed their biological components. I just don't...
like in the next book, Onua and Wanua share a meal, so...
Oh, spoilers!
Okay.
Spoilers for...
Spoilers, they eat
spoilers
together.
they had lunch.
Yeah, man!
Spoilers! They had lunch together.
Yes, man! Well, Steven Universe would call that a spoiler!
Yeah, kind of would, actually.
Cartoon Network
Together breakfast! So yeah, Rahi.
Yeah.
I
So,
have to point out,
Rahi-
though, they probably don't eat as much as they think, because they're only 15% organic.
that is true.
The
I just looked it
Toa
up.
the Toa at the start of the story are much less organic than everyone else, because apparently...
I was about to say, they started with 0%. How much farther can you go?
Oh, they started with 0%. Never mind.
Because what had happened is, when they were floating around in the canister,
They literally
their
rotted
organs
away.
melted.
they kind of started with nothing.
Yeah, so all those jokes about Bionicles just being skeletons, they are.
But they started eventually
was
growing
enough.
organs, which that was a graphic to see in that original promo clip.
Yeah,
But
I'm
that was
thinking
that was the last year.
Wait, what promo clip are you talking about?
You didn't
Yeah, I
see
don't
that
think I've seen
promo
this.
clip?
No.
The one
Yeah,
where
Liam.
Tahu starts rebuilding himself? Or was it Onua?
I've seen clips of both of those Toa rebuilding, but I don't remember there being any organ growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it happened. I remember.
So-
It was on... I think it was on the... If it wasn't on the promo CD,
Are you sure you're not thinking of that one animation Vrano did of Pohatu?
On a
You know,
scale
that's
of-
entirely possible. Because it
On a
was...
scale-
Because that was really disturbing.
Yeah,
scale
it was
of apple
very
to
similar. You know what?
Hmm.
On a,
I'm pretty sure you're right, because I remember Pohatu putting his shoes on, so you're probably right. It was probably that.
Yeah.
on a scale of apple to 10, how similar would you say that scene is to in Adventure Time when the Lich gets some healing juice on him and he grows a person?
Moving on.
The Lich is a skeleton and he got some healing juice on him and he turned into a real boy.
Yeah, so the Toa, they meet up in Tawai again because they seem to like doing that lately. And they got to figure out a plan. What are we gonna do with all these Krana and stuff?
Burn 'em.
And then we get weirdly
back up.
personal Lewa time, where Lewa just gets like really depressed, and everyone's really comforting about it. And
Except
I
for
don't know,
Tahu.
except Tahu, he's just a dick.
He's been mindfucked twice, and unlike with the
Yeah.
infected mask, apparently his connection to the Borak is just never going to go away. Apparently,
Yeah,
I
that's
can
just
still feel them in my head.
like
Happy
apparently
my
the Krana, the Krana is less similar to an infected mask and more similar to just a leech, just sending the blood into Lewa's body, and now he has foreign blood in his brain, and he can think good and stuff.
That's an interesting way of putting it, because I got weird like vibes of this being a rape allegory out of this.
Kinda,
Like,
yeah.
Excuse me?
yeah, I know that sounds weird for a Bionicle book.
Hey,
but
hey, there was a rape allegory in Ben 10 Omniverse. The one that
Oh, God, was there?
that everyone said was the childish.
And
Only Bionicles.
And welcome back to the Bionicle Podcast, where we talk about Ben 10, Exoforce, and somehow Chili.
Don't forget Trump. Trump was in there too.
Yeah. And
Can we talk about
and
happy
bagged
robots
milk.
again, please?
Can we talk about happy robots again?
Let's talk
Okay,
about Brexit. I'm sure there's an
Happy
allegory in there
robots.
somewhere.
Nobody even knows what Brexit is. Let's move on to something else no one knows what it is. Bionicles!
How could Matsunui, the
So-
island, secede from any union? There's the only location we know of.
Yeah, they think the Borak are coming from a mysterious island that doesn't exist because the planet is all water. But it turns out the Borak actually live in a nest.
yes, and
Which
they
is-
go into that nest
Yes.
now.
And
They
it turns
fight.
out the nest... they fight. The Itchy and Borak show!
So as
do
the
that
Toa
now.
descend into the Borok nest, they notice something's a little off. The walls, they're too smooth, and also there's fire. Look out! And they look like they're gonna die. Do you think the masks of shielding could have maybe helped them out there?
You know,
Yeah,
not really,
no.
because the mask of shielding only protects from things that you're aware of. If it's a sudden collapse or cave-in, you kind of have to know what's going to happen first.
Now,
Well, I'm talking specifically about the fireball coming at them. Like, they saw that coming from a long way
so
off.
apparently, okay, and we're skipping ahead a few sentences. Apparently, the obstacles in this cavern are not real. So it probably the mask of shielding doesn't protect against psychic attacks. So maybe not.
Also, he
call
said molten
It's all in
lava.
their imagination.
Well, he said molten lava, and then the next sentence says it's a fireball. So,
It's all in our imagination.
Did anybody stop to think that maybe this isn't a very well-written book?
It's
I'd
okay.
stopped to think that a few times.
It's okay. I just had a brain tumor at the time. It was fine.
I've had a brain tumor since
So,
2003.
I had one when I was 3.
Moving on.
so
Moving
Are
right
Kardok
along.
and Gardok the ones who are like making these illusions, and also how that's not a thing, isn't it?
They're implied to be very
Hold
powerful.
on. Give me a second. Let me look up their powers again.
Apparently they have like a
it's
lot.
literally established on the next page that they can create illusions.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they have the toe of stone and the other toe of stone.
Oh, yeah,
I guess
that's
they
right.
do have powers of illusion. Yep.
Yeah, they get them shadow boxing.
And I was joking. I know that there's a toe of stone and a toe of earth. Don't put comments. Also,
Let's say this is something I don't remember from the comics because they didn't actually have to do all this. So
yeah, while the Toa are doing that, the Matoran are all huddling up in Gar Koro for some reason, I guess.
Orgies.
All the Pomatoran are going there because their village has been destroyed, and
yeah,
all
they
the
kind
Tamatoran
of
are there
needed to
for
go
some
somewhere.
They kind of needed to
Yeah.
go somewhere, and it's real hard to destroy water.
That's true.
And I think they kind of got the recommendation because, in fact, it does say here something about Huki is going there, and it's like, Maku is a good friend, and I enjoy her
good
company
friend.
greatly.
Maku is a good friend. At this point in the timeline, Lego is trying to erase our relationship. Da 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 da.
Love is not canon.
But what is
Love
canon?
is absolutely. Did you see the way they looked at each other in the Borak animation?
Yep. The good news
After the storm.
The good news is, by erasing love from canon, every single Bionicle ever is now LGBT. Congratulations, Lego, you accidentally asexual all over the place.
Yes, all the Matoran and the Toa are ace. Congratulations. Good job, Lego.
Congratulations, Lego.
Progressive from the very beginning.
You tried to overshoot your girls are icky message so hard you accidentally wrapped back around.
Yeah, so the Toa, they find this Exo-Toa armor while they're underground, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's just a blatant way to sell toys, which all of this is, but this even more so, because they put the armor on, and then 5 minutes later decide to get rid of it, because it's useless.
What I think happened was they had a specific budget for the designs for the Titan class sets of this wave, and they just didn't have any idea, so they thought, hey, you know what would be cool? Mechs.
Yeah.
And they couldn't think of a way to actually utilize them in the story, so they were just like, what if the mechs, or what if there are mechs outside the where the Bug Queens live, and they punch good.
And what if the mechs, like, disable their elemental powers for some reason?
I mean, you kind of have to give them this. If you just gave the Toa a brand new set of armor out of nowhere, and it did everything, including allowed them to use their elements through it, that'd be overpowered. You have to nerf it.
The way I saw it, it was like an exchange, like this power for your power.
Exactly.
Yep,
so you could punch good, you could shoot this missile thing, and probably lose it under your couch in the next 3 seconds for the rest of the day.
The idea is that Kadok and Gadok are so powerful that the only way to defeat them is to brute force them. And so these suits of armor are made, and the check and balances are that it makes you strong enough to push them back long enough to trap them, but you can't do anything else with them, and also they're too big to get out of the door, probably.
But yeah.
Question.
Go ahead.
In story, why are the Exo-Toa there?
Well, we find that out later.
Do we?
Not really.
Well, we find out information that makes me extrapolate why they're there.
I think I know what you're getting at, but it seems like a bit of a stretch.
Basically, the people that created the Borak to do what they do put them there because okay, so the reason the Borak were asleep was because they're supposed to do specifically what they do, which is destroy the island, and they need to specifically do that.
Specifically, they were placed there to defend against, and I'm quoting this, a possible premature release of the Borak.
Yeah, it's a failsafe.
That's literally all they were there for.
That's what I was trying to say, but in way too many words. I was saying way too many words. It's there as a failsafe. That's also why the nest had these keyholes that you put the squish brains into.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that little tidbit of information about the Exo-Toa was probably asked to Greg on like a message board or something.
Probably.
That
And then it
sounds
got-
like
and
a
then it got-
Greg answer.
Because that was then put in the encyclopedia at one point. It was in
The encyclopedia that got the name of the masks wrong.
Look,
Yep.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. Now, have any of you read the manual for the Quest for Makuta board game?
No.
I don't know how to read. What are you talking about?
Looks perfectly okay in
Was that
English.
Was that the 2001 or the
Oh.
2003?
2001. So, the English version of the manual, perfectly fine, aside from the cow being repurposed as the Mask of Distance. But the French version has literally every mask listed as the Kanoe How.
Oh, God.
I shit you not. Same description, too. Except for the Akaku. The Akaku's fine.
So apparently in the French version of Bionicle, there's only 2 masks, and 5 of them are the same one.
Yep.
Well, that would have made the story turn out a little differently.
You know, it makes you wonder, what would happen if they ever put out another Mask of Shielding, but it didn't look like the original one? You think anybody would accept it?
I think people would.
Then it would just be like the Miru that was the G2 Miru that was just a Cyberman face.
Yeah, it kind of was. But yeah, I mean, the How, it's iconic. They could never change the design of that.
Nope.
Not Ubisoft.
And no, I'm not
exactly the way it
talking
is.
about the How Nuva, because that's a completely different thing. Which
Well, yeah,
we know
obviously.
about because, of course, we're reading about this.
Yes, and speaking of Nuva, well, the Toa, they decide, let's just use all our elemental powers against the Barag, because that seems to work. And so they do. And they shoot all the elements at once at them.
So it's implied throughout the first 2 books, and probably later, that they know stuff. They don't know why they know stuff, but they know it. So they probably knew that all 6 of them using their powers at once would make a box.
I don't think they actually knew about it. I'll be honest.
I think they subconsciously knew that
they had like an
something
inkling
useful would
that
happen.
it would.
I just don't think they knew exactly what or why they knew it.
But it all works out, and the Barag get trapped in a box full of protodermis, and the Toa, they fall into a vat full of protodermis, which is just there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, as far as I know, they never explained why the protodermis was there.
I don't remember if I read an official source for it or if I just came up with it. Whatever wrote the Toa's destiny, be it the gods, Matanui, fucking Vakama, he seems to know everything.
Out with it already.
What was I talking about?
God damn it!
Okay, so basically the Toa were probably not meant to fall in the pool of fancy juice and become fancy.
That's bullshit, and we'll find out why in later books.
Okay, so but my interpretation is that the guiding forces made all of what was coming up for them up, because they were like, oh shit, they weren't supposed to fall in the silly juice. New masks, new things, new everything. Yay!
Yep. So the silly juice, also known as protodermis, and only protodermis, despite this being the same thing that's apparently mined in Onukoro, as a source of power. I'm not entirely sure how you convert that into power, but they do.
Almost as if we can call it something maybe electrified? No, that sounds silly.
You could say it's something like that.
Someone on Twitter apparently said that it's not actually electrified protodermis that made them fancy.
So the Toa get transformed into the TuragaNuva, which basically means new toys, kids.
Yes.
Can I also say what it really means? It means ugly sets. I'm sorry.
Hey!
Yeah.
Aesthetically,
I gotta agree with you there.
The sets themselves are fine, but the masks. That's where
Everyone-
my problem lies.
everyone complained about them for a year. I don't really know exactly how I knew at the time everyone was complaining, but I did, and they kind of grow on you, and that's why everyone kind of looks back at them fondly. But yeah, it was a weird. Weird change.
Well over 15 years of hindsight. Trust me when I say this. The Nuva masks are ugly.
I was
Really?
With the exception of the
It's
cow.
better than the Mystica.
The what? Now, having said that, I should point out something. As much as I absolutely do not like the Nuva as far as the masks go, I absolutely love the Nuva Cube.
Yep, I love it. He's a good boy.
It's really cool.
Good boy.
TuragaNuva, on to the next book.
His name is Jeff, and he's the best cube.
Yeah, real quick, something about the TuragaNuva that I do love is the sort of the subtext that it says about Tahu specifically, because basically as soon as the Toa emerge out of this protodermis, he just instantly says, "Right, guys, we got a new name, TuragaNuva," which literally just translates to new Toa.
Yeah, I really like how critical they are of him throughout. Like Pohatu even jokes when someone calls him just Toa. He's like, "Don't let Tahu hear you say that. Apparently, we're the TuragaNuva now." He's all making up new words like Shakespeare.
But yeah, Tahu and Kopaka and Onua specifically, they're all on board with it in that one comic where the Toa all like fight each other. Like those three, they're all like, "Yes, I am Onua Nuva. You are Tahu Nuva, and you will not beat Kopaka Nuva." And they're all fine with it. But the others, they never refer to themselves that way. So I just like to think that Gali, Pohatu, and Lewa are just like, look at these guys. Look at these dorks calling themselves TuragaNuva. Stupid.
For anyone who's really confused, the TuragaNuva decide to fight each other for fun.
I mean, we've basically said everything important that happens up until that point, apart from the Nuva cube appearing, I guess. Well, the Nuva symbols appearing.
The Nuva symbols are apparently magic dongles that fit into the Nuva cube, but they all apparently are tied to the Nuva's powers, and unless the Nuva symbols are in their village, the Toa don't got their powers no more.
Yeah, so this is more of that sort of power trade-off thing we were talking about with the Exo Toa earlier, is that now the Toa are significantly more powerful, but now their power is shackled to these little icons.
Yeah, there's a line...
Infinite cosmic power, itty bitty living space.
Yeah, Will Smith sure did say that. Yeah, there's a line in the book where I think it's Tahu who's complaining, like, "Oh, we have all this power, but it's shackled to these fucking blocks. Someone must have done this on purpose, made us more powerful just so they could turn our powers off more easily."
I wonder if that's the case.
I wonder. But yeah, so, that's one reason why I'm on the camp of the gods didn't expect this to happen and were confused as fuck about what to do.
Certainly the story writers were.
Certainly the story writers were, yes.
Yeah.
And they were technically the gods, weren't they?
So yeah, while Tahu is getting all of this power icon stuff explained to him, Vakama's also like, "Hey, come into the back room 1 second. I got something real special to show you. I don't know if you're ever going to need this. Just bringing it up just in case. Here's like the best mask. Take it and keep it secret."
No pressure.
No pressure, dude. It could only like end the world if you do it wrong.
And Tahu is like, every time he says anything about the mask, and it's thought speak, he's not saying it to the people because he's supposed to keep it a secret. He's very good at that. He's all like, "Why the fuck did Vakama give me this? I'm so impulsive."
Why did Vakama give it to Tahu?
Apparently it was destiny or bullshit. I kept screaming at the book, "Why are you doing this? Give it to Kopaka or Gali or Onua, however you pronounce it. You know, fuck it. TuragaNuva would probably be a better person to give it to than Tahu." Is like, "Hey, Onua, I know you're a Turaga now, and we probably can't even use this thing, but here, do it." Would the Turaga be able to use it?
I don't think so, because it's a great mask, isn't it? Turaga specifically can't use great masks.
That is true. But also, banana. I was about to say something from a later book, but I corrected myself just in time. Aren't you proud of me, Daddy?
Okay. So... yeah, so what else is going on? Okay, so, Lewa goes back to his village, eager to reunite with everyone, since, the Borok, surely the Borok are dead. And so now they all go get drunk and party.
Ever again.
Never see them ever again. And so Lewa decides to get all cocky, and he flies up into the air, and he says, "Hey, look at this sick trick." And then he discovers that he can't do the windy thing anymore.
Yep.
And he falls to the ground.
Lewa can't fart into the sky anymore.
Yep. Apparently, while the grass boys were partying, pretending that they weren't all traumatized for life, apparently they didn't leave anyone to guard the MacGuffin box.
Can the other Lematoran hear Borok thoughts now? Or is it just Lewa?
I assume it's just the ones who wore that one. because the one that Lewa had was the telekinesis one, and
telepathy.
What did I say?
You said telekinesis.
Oh, that was wrong. Yeah, so I assume that all of the Lematoran and Matau just have latent Borok abilities now because of the Krana that they all wore, which would be an interesting thing if they had ever utilized that narratively.
That's like the catchphrase of this entire franchise. Would have been interesting if they'd utilized it.
Yeah, which is really weird, because like there's so much stuff that is in Bionicle that they just didn't have time to do all of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of things that didn't get done, Lewa, my boy, listen here. 3 little words. Mask of levitation.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, this is the only time so far that I've noticed them forgetting they had that.
You know, that is an interesting point.
And it was the Toa of fucking air that forgot it. It's hilarious.
You know, at that point, I think it was because he was so used to using his air powers that it just didn't matter.
I guess.
Yeah, it's a running gag on Bed Bath & Bionicle that Lei was the worst one.
I mean, he is so far.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the other thing. If you remember from the Borakal animation, he fell out of a tree, is what happened.
Yeah,
like, this scene could have easily been rewritten to say not only his elemental powers deserted him, but he then felt, heavier. They could have written that in, but nope, just say he can't fly.
Yep.
He fell out of a tree. He complains about it like a dozen times. It's like, It was so humiliating. I fell out of a tree. Me! The guy who doesn't fall out of trees!
Rapid fire, the other Toa, they all lose their elemental powers as well. And we soon find out that it's because their power icons have been stolen by a mysterious thief, or thieves plural, perhaps.
Shush. This is Lego. Yes. There are no plurals here.
Oh, of course. Thief plural.
Also, can I just point out something? The comic panel where Kopaka's symbol is being stolen and Matoro's trying to defend it, yet he's like, "Wait, I will stop you. I'm so heavy I can't stand."
But it's a Korok Cal shield.
Thank you.
Yep.
I thought there was something wrong with that.
Yeah, so that's another instance of the comics just not quite lining up.
It always bothered me that these symbols are being stolen by these certain Borok, and then, the animation down the line and the promotional had completely different ones. I even asked, wait a minute, if the Tanakh Call had taken Tahu's symbol, why does Galakal have it in all of the promo stuff?
Wasn't it technically Korok Cal that stole it in the book?
I think so.
Oh wow, this is almost.
I mean, we do find out later in the book exactly which Borok Cal stole each symbol.
I think the comic artist just got confused and thought, this is the Ice Borok Calls. This is the Ice Borok 2. So he goes in the Ice Village to steal the Iceman's Ice MacGuffin.
Yeah, that's probably the thought process.
It even looks like a snowflake. The Korok Call shield even looks like a snowflake. Why are they designed with aesthetic for the Toa's elements when they're not the Toa's elements?
You gotta wonder why they look anything like they do at all.
Why do they even have the prefixes? They're elemental prefixes.
Which Toa is the element of acid?
The element of acid isn't a real element, therefore it is...
Okay, but the real question is, which one has the element of surprise?
Lewa. Because he's very surprising. Oh, no, Pohatu, because he surprised Kopaka in literally the first thing most people saw ever in Bionicle.
Yeah.
So anyway, the element of birthing hips.
Yes. So the Toa, they get a tip off that the Borok Cal, the new Borok, as they know them at this point.
I called them Borok 2.
Yeah, the Borok 2. They get a tip off that they're hiding out in the desert, and so the Toa go there and they find them, and they're like, "Hey, they look like Borok, only meaner." To which I reply, "They look exactly like Borok, only silver."
Yeah, and they're fancy.
I have to bring this up. So 2003 rolls around. I get the comic, as you do. And, no, this was in late 2002. And I'm looking at this, and I see the brief promo for this new threat. They call themselves a call, and I'm like, that's awesome. I'm waiting for this. Could you imagine how heartbroken I was to learn they were just Borak?
I was a very stupid child, even comparatively, so I thought they were cool because they were shiny.
Literally, Borak
I mean,
recolors.
to be fair,
with
you
one
are
new
missing a chunk
piece.
of your brain.
With one new piece, recolored pieces, and the possibility of winning one in another color. Or metal, for that matter.
Yeah.
And, of course, it was the one that you're not supposed to buy multiples of, because it's only supposed to be an individual, that you're encouraged to buy multiples of to try to find a collectible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hated the marketing for 2003.
Lego doesn't usually like to compromise, but, they still didn't know that Bionicle was the winner, so they basically fucked it in some places, and I assume they regret it now. It's like, man, if we'd known Bionicle was going to last for 10 fucking years, we probably wouldn't have compromised on that Borak call deal with the Chrono and all that.
Right.
Speaking of regrets, the Toa, they tried to fight the Borak call and immediately get fucked.
Just fucking curb stomped. Like, the Borak call are super badass. It's implied that there is basically nothing anyone could have ever done to stop them. Like,
we should do something. Should we do something?
Just like every single time a Borak call meets one of the TuragaNuva, they just curb stomp them. No matter who or what combination of guys, there's always just Borak call notices a Toa, curb stomps them. Borak call doesn't even acknowledge the Toa and just curb stomps them. Like, Liwa finds one of them in the forest. It was like, I'm gonna sneak up real on him good and stuff. And like, I don't think the call that he's in, the sound one, Korak call, that's the one I remember now. I don't think it even acknowledges he's there. It just raises his shield, and suddenly Lee was brain fucked again.
By the way, I want to bring up a very interesting quote here. This is before they went and got curb stomped. Gali had raced into the clearing to talk to them all. Brother, she cried breathlessly. Good, you're all here. I have news. We know, Bahatu said. Symbol stolen, powers gone, blah, 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 old news. And then she shook her head and not that. The reason I bring that up is the voice actor that did Bahatu for Journey to One actually read that quote for us.
I love him.
Oh, nice.
I love him. He's a good boy.
So very, very quickly, sorry, I just need to say about Tahu. He gets his feet magnetized to the ground. Now, we know Tahu's feet are made of metal, presumably. But what about the ground? What's going on there, boys?
I've researched Magneto because apparently he's amazing. Apparently, everything emits magnetism. And apparently Magneto is like, oh shit, if I concentrate real hard, I can use the magnetism of grass.
Interesting.
It is possible that it's just creating a field of magnetism underneath them.
Could be.
Yeah, I
would
didn't
be
think of that.
Yeah.
That makes more sense than the Magneto thing.
Or just the fucking iron in the soil.
Oh, dang. Or the protodermis that we know is underground. Wow!
So the Toa, they try various times, like Josie just said, to try and defeat the Borak Carl, and they get shit on every single time.
Especially
Tahu's legs get
Liwa.
melted at one point.
Especially Liwa.
Yeah.
He's like traumatized again. He's just he's laying on the ground in a fetal position, presumably for hours until other Toa find him, pry his hands off of his ears, and tell him it's going to be okay. They can't hurt you anymore until they hurt him again. They form their Kaediki fusion man. They form their fusion man. I can't pronounce. And the Borak are all like, that's cute. They form their own fusion man, kick that ass, and then they comment, that was almost fun. I love just beating these people senseless.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
I kind of forgot how much personality the Borak Carl have.
They're great. I love them.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we jump immediately to when they finally managed to get an ambush on one of them. And what did they have to use? A very shiny rock.
An extremely shiny rock. And before they kick the rock, Pohatu and Onua just exchange a bunch of insults at each other.
Yeah,
which is cool.
I assume that all of
Pohatu calls Onoa ugly.
I assume that all of the Toa are just very irritable because this situation sucks.
So they kick the ball and they smash it into the tree somehow because that blocks the lightning. And it knocks out the Tana call, and then they manage to get the Krana call, which starts talking to them for reasons.
Yep. And then
Ava shows up and puts a brain squish into Squish Brain.
Well, the Va show up and take the Borak call away. We don't see them put the squish back in.
Right.
But anyway, so the Toa all go to the nest, and they're just like, right, let's just go there and see what's up. Figure this out. Lewa, go see what's up. And Lewa goes down there, and he's like, "Oh my god!"
First, we missed the moment. We kind of glossed over. I don't like digressing, but
Jala
like we kind
ambushes a Tanak of the Parak himself. The Parak.
Yeah, the Toa are struggling for this entire book to even get so much as a word in with these things. And one single Matoran can just jump on Parak Cal's back and wrench the Corona Cal free.
I like to think it was situational. That wouldn't normally happen, but the Parak call has a very similar element to Tahu's native element, and so like Tahu is like trying to beat the Parak call himself. He was like, I may not have the firepower that you have, but I can still fuck. And then Jala shows up and is like, Tahu, don't get yourself killed. Do whatever it is you're supposed to do, because frankly, I'm not entirely sure. Just fucking don't die fighting this fucker. And then Parak calls are like, yes, you should do what the baby says. I am strong. And then Jala just fucking jumps him. Like, wait, what? I wasn't expecting this. And then
you may think you know everything I'm going to do, but I know everything you're going to do. Strange, isn't it?
This is why Jala is the police commissioner of Volcano Land. And he would make a very...
Tahu's legs totally should have got melted off, by the way, when the ground got into lava, but anyway.
So they enter the nest.
Yes.
And
they enter the nest.
We see the Borakal fighting the Exotoa, but nobody's inside them. How could this be?
They're robots.
Whoa.
Lay gas.
They're mechs that go on autopilot.
Although empty, these suits of armor still oppose us.
Mechs on autopilot.
It was Ava all along.
Borak Bionicle, Tahu it's all in a giant robot.
Spoilers. Anyway, so
how we fit the Nuva symbols of the Nuva cube power onto the cube and stuff.
Yes.
This is really weirdly written, by the way.
When Lewa finds what they're doing and he tells the other Toa about it, it is the least comprehensible sentence in all of Bionicle. Just like they're standing in front of a cube. We need to stop them. What the fuck are you talking about?
By the way, I'm looking at this comic panel. I'm looking at the comic panel right now of them announcing they're going to use the Nuva symbols on the cube. The cube is badly drawn. I'm crying.
But drawing a three-dimensional, explicitly three-dimensional object.
No, you misunderstand. It's drawn beautifully as a three-dimensional object. They put Onua's symbol right next to Tahu's symbol and didn't connect the lines at all.
Oh, that's wrong.
Oh no,
that's wrong.
I memorized the layout of this thing because, as I've shown you, I built one. That's the one I built.
I didn't even make the connection that you probably built it.
That is built out of beautiful 20 studs by 20 studs by 20 studs.
I love it.
All using a transparent base plate on the inside and lit up from the inside.
I made it in Minecraft.
That took me 2 days.
I made it in Minecraft and it took 5 seconds.
Yeah, but mine costs significantly more money. Mine costs $90 minimum.
Moving right along.
Yes, moving right along.
And no more talking about how Swert is the luckiest person alive.
Yes, so the Toa finally confront the Borak Kal, and Tahu's like, right, we don't have time. It's time for the Mask of Time. And he puts it on, and he's like, oh my god, this is harder than I imagined.
And Gally's all like, no, you're gonna blow up everything! I don't even know what the fuck it is, but I know it's bad!
You may have tuned us all!
Yeah, Gally just sort of figures out how dangerous the mask is just from him saying it's the Mask of Time.
Smart. She's very smart. She's all like, wait, it does what? Oh no!
Yeah.
And you're you? And why did...
So the mask of...
Why did you get this fucking mask?
Like, Kopaka's the best one. He's the one who should get the thing.
But if you fail, Atenui will fall. All of reality may be undone. that I will not fail.
Me, the guy who fights the most powerful Borak alone and ends up being rescued by a baby.
Okay, so I know Tahu was holding on to the Mask of Time, like, for this whole adventure, but now that the secret's out, why doesn't he give it to Kopaka or someone else
He
and
gives
say,
it back to
you use it?
Turaga. He gives it back to Vakama at the end.
No, but I mean, like, right now, in the nest, like, just give it to Kopaka, he'd be able to use it better, probably.
There's no time!
Okay.
You can't slow down time to give somebody a mask. There's just no possible way to do that.
There's no time! I have it on my face! Therefore, there's none of it!
I've already sweated on
I guess you could say Tahu couldn't make time.
He really couldn't.
I would never say that. That is a horrible joke, and I should hope the
because it literally accomplishes practically nothing.
The Mask of Anticlimax, I've got it down as in my notes.
I was about to say, all of this is for moot point because they still figured out, wait a minute, our elemental powers are the secret to all this. Again.
Also, apparently the Chronicle just aren't affected by time dilation.
Yeah,
they just keep going.
I was asked to summarize
part of that is because the Chronicle turns silver, and that apparently protects them from all outside influence.
I was asked to summarize the lore behind the Mask of Time on Twitter, and my least detailed tweet was the one about this, because this is so stupid. Just the Mask of Time doesn't work because the Corona turns silver and they're immune to time now.
Sure, okay.
My theory for that is that the Chronicle aren't actually turning silver. They're just they're like straddling a dimensional barrier, sort of like how Fentoon works in Metroid.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Anyway, so the TuragaNuva figure out, or specifically I think it was Gali figured it out, that all we have to do is reach out and force more energy from the symbol into the Borak Hall, and that somehow forces them to go, wait, we have power now. We could do this. We feel great. We can win.
And we have so much power that we're going to crush ourselves with it.
Yep. So, like,
they basically become Piccolo.
One of the Borak Hall thinks they don't even need to reawaken the Borak.
They can just get lost on anybody.
They can just destroy the island themselves. One of them thinks that they can rule the swarms along with the Barag, even though that's what they already do. So that's stupid.
So so all of the Borak Hal's powers get turned against them. Tarnok Kal gets trapped in a barrier of electricity. Garlock Kal gets all the Exotoa parts magnetized to it and crushes itself with them. Nuvok Kal turns into a fucking black hole.
Yep.
Presumably one that's small enough that it dissipates quickly, because
because of
there's a black hole
because of Hawkins radiation.
Yep, Hawking radiation. I know what that is now. I watched a YouTube video, and so
the power call basically keeps going through to the center of the planet because we have no idea where it goes.
Korok Kal gets trapped in a wave of its own sound, and Levak Kal...
And the Levak Kal goes in the exact opposite direction of the Parak Kal.
Yeah, it just
Levak Kal yeets itself into orbit.
Yep.
Where mechanically stays there for the rest of time.
Can we backtrack for a second, though, and talk about how Nuvok Kal yeeted an entire Tannock swarm into orbit?
Yeah, he did it.
He did, yeah. There's a scene that it's so cool. The comic book just starts off with, no, this isn't an alternate timeline. This is actually clickbait, because the gravity one, who's I already forgot the name, just yeets them all into space. Okay, Levak Kal, I remember now because of yeets.
No, Nuvok.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong!
I'm the worst human being alive! I got words wrong in an internet thing.
That comic starts off by saying this isn't an alternate timeline. I can't imagine Bionicle having alternate timelines.
Yep.
What a ridiculous concept.
Yep, especially involving Takua, but better.
So yeah, I've just posted in the chat the comic version of Levak Kal yeeting itself into orbit. This was not included in the version we read, but it deserves to be seen.
Yeah, all it basically does is it basically starts blasting off again. And
it blasts through 7 layers of stone and into orbit.
And according to Greg, and this is canon, it stays there throughout the rest of the series. It never comes down, and it doesn't even...
Yeah, no.
Nobody ever goes back for it.
Even after the big thing that ended the whole series, it's still in orbit.
Oh, yeah.
It just adjusted its orbit.
That's
Well, I'm pretty
hilarious.
sure that might have destroyed it, but we'll see.
No, it's canonically still there.
Even if it wasn't, I want to.
It just
I
fell
choose.
into a new orbit.
Even if it wasn't, I choose to believe that it's still there, and I want it to become the. So I don't. Is the red star still in orbit?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You have gone over the red star, right?
Have we?
No, we
well,
haven't.
we briefly mentioned it
Okay,
last
so
I
time.
meant
the
as far as it existing.
The red
Yeah,
star
yeah.
seems to be a comet that orbits the planet. That is, it's very important to the mythology of the Victorian religion and whatever. And
Right.
it's about, and I just want the Levot call to also be integrated into their beliefs. Like, and there's the bug moon, the other one, the bug star. If you listen really closely, you can hear it screaming.
Finally, we're on the wall of history, and the Tvorakal have been defeated.
Yep.
And finally, we get to Naming Day.
Naming Day.
Yeah,
Yep. So
also known
this
as
is
Lawsuit Avoidance Day.
Right?
Yep. So this, Levi, and anyone else who didn't know, this is where LEGO basically resolved all of their issues with taking other other language words and just using them
Most
and
of
trying
them.
to copyright them, I think.
Yep, they
or
tried
trademark them.
trademarking a bunch of words they don't own.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So they basically
so-
recreated a new name. So Jala now became Jaller.
Still pronounced Jala, though.
Yep.
Huki,
None of the
H-U-K-I, now
pronunciations
became
changed.
Huki, H-E-W-K-I-I. So that's now trademarked. And Maku became Maku, M-A-C-K-U.
Yep.
And don't forget Tohunga.
Yep.
Oh yeah, this one was not mentioned because Tohunga is not canon at all anymore. That just
Yep.
erased.
Yep.
Never happened.
They started
They were
calling
always
them
Matoran.
all brand new Matoran.
Yep.
Yep.
Tahunga is not
Which
real.
again,
Even though in the flashback they're always called Matoran, but we don't talk about
not
that.
canon.
Yeah.
It's
Look,
only canon.
I think what it is because of the situation in the next couple of books, we'll find out why they may have started calling him Tahunga. Or maybe because somebody got their head knocked over. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Special mention to that one last bit of the Wall of History bit there where Vakama just says to Takua, try not to misspell them.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that because he doesn't even provide it's like, try not to misspell the words I just said with my mouth, so you don't know how to spell them. I hate.
I
you,
also
Takua.
love this last bit right here. As for Takua the Chronicler, who it seems shall forever remain only Takua the Chronicler, he
Forever and ever.
has held a small ceremony of naming. From this day forward, whenever her deeds are written on the Great Wall of History, the faithful useful crab Puku shall now be known by the name of Puku. P-E-W-K-U.
Takua got cucked out of his own naming day thing, but the crab got a new name.
Don't worry, he has his own naming day later on.
I'm sure he might have a naming day eventually. I wonder what
Yeah.
they might call him. Maybe they'll extend his name past the 5 letters to maybe... Let's go with 8.
Taco Boy.
Yes.
And
Takua,
so
you are
we
now
come to
Taco
the
Boy.
end
And
of book
also
2.
adding the Chronicler to your name, so it is your actual name, and you will always be the Taco Man, the newsboy.
And so we come to the end of book 2. So that was
Finally.
Yep.
That was a bit longer than it should have been. Sorry.
Yeah, as we wrap up, so overall thoughts, guys, on book 2, as compared to book 1, or just standalone. What do you think of it?
Long.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why did they have to combine 2 books into one? That was stupid.
I liked it.
You know,
Well, it's still technically shorter than book 1
Yeah, way shorter.
by like 10 pages.
I was about to say, a year and a half condensed down into a book when only 6 months was condensed in how long of a book?
That's true.
I think they did a good job. I was actually just kind of dreading going through the Borak season because I don't know. I guess I just as a kid I always thought, oh man, I like the find the math plot. I don't want to read about bugs. And I was pleasantly surprised rereading the.
Well, you'll be pleasantly surprised with the next book then.
Oh yeah, the next one. The most disgusting body horror type dealie that all year, because it just gets worse and worse. It's just, franchise.
Excuse me?
Are you talking about the same Bionicle we're talking about?
The villains, the villains in the next year are really gross.
Oh yeah.
Well, depending on your interpretation. Personally, I think they're pretty cool.
They are cool. They're also gross.
What does that have to do with body horror?
Their heads open up in the movies.
That's.
Can you have robot body horror?
Yes, because they're actually biomechanical. So like they have gross bits.
I was about to say, I understand.
I'll get Vrono's animation.
Yeah, man, get Bruno's animation. Also, tell him that we need more dances for beavers.
Go ahead, Swert.
No, I was going to say something about it, but that's for the next episode, which I probably will not be on because I'm going to get kicked off.
Oh.
I know I am.
No.
Well, before you go, we need to ask you a question, and this is very important.
I am listening.
Who is hashtag your guy?
And why is it the crab?
I'm guessing in reference to character?
Yes, yeah. Best boy, best girl, who?
Oh. You know, I'm going to have to say Motaro is my best guy.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on this episode of the Gathered Friends podcast. I hope you'll join us next time when we'll be reading the first half of Book 3. I say first half because Book 3 is pretty dang long. We will be reading pages... Oh god, where is it? Pages 600... No, not 600. 263 to 329. That is 67 pages, pretty short on that front. But also we'll be reading, watching Mask of Light, the movie. So, everybody get your pirated DVD software up and watch the movie and read chapters prologue to 14 of Book 3.
Big throbbing boners!